What's your opinion? Is he playing us the fool, or is he going to really step out of the ring and retire? What do you think he does?
Well, I think he's holding UFC and Zuf's feet to the fire for more money. That's what I think's going on. I think they jumped the gun and announced that fight before he'd actually signed the bout agreement and agreed to all the terms of the fight. And now he's saying, "Oh yeah, okay, well I want more money, and if you don't give me more money, then I'll just retire." It's really the only leverage that we have as fighters with the contracts they force us to sign is to retire. I actually had to do that myself back in the day with Zuffa and the UFC, and you don't really have a lot of other options. So I think that's what's going on more than likely.
But, Randy, let me jump in. Here's what I don't get. I understand it's obviously a play on business. He's trying to maximize his career and his earning potential, and I get that, and I fully respect that. But if he does retire, if UFC doesn't acquiesce and give him more money, then he goes from making what he was supposed to make to making nothing. So how does he capitalize on this if he actually retires? It seems like a dumb move at that point.
Well, if the estimations are true, I think in the Aldo fight and his last fight with Nate, I think he's cleared close to $10 million. If he's diligent, I think that should last him quite a while. I would hope. Living in Scotland or in Ireland where he lives, I don't know. It really depends on how he's taken care of the money that he's earned already, and if he's done well enough there to get him down the road. He could certainly retire on that. I think it's more a ploy. We'll see what happens and how it all unfolds. I mean, the UFC's coming out and saying they pulled him from the card. I don't think that I believe that. I think they're just trying to paint the story they want and really control the situation on a media front. But we'll see how it unfolds. And who has their way.
No, Randy, it's interesting when I look at UFC fighters, and I just try to think about the business side of it, and the fact that it should be get in the ring and fight whoever, whenever type of situation. But it's ultimately a business, right? And you can't be exploited. And if you feel that way, what is the choice? Can you go fight somewhere else? Is there no competing property? You know what I mean? You know what I'm getting at?
Well, there is, but the problem right now is that the contract that you're forced to sign is very exclusive and very difficult. And I think that's part of the problem in the sport, is it doesn't leave you a lot of options. The other organizations are doing very well, and because of those contracts and because of the way that they're treating some of the fighters, we've seen fighters like Ben Henderson, who's gone to Bellator now, and other fighters that have gone to World Series of Fighting. You're going to see, Rise in Tokyo continue to grow and become the new Pride Fighting Championship over there with Rising. So, there are options as fighters. And if you don't get a fair shake from Zuffa in the UFC, you do have options to go make a living and continue to fight.
I'm talking to Randy Couture. Let's face it, one of the legends and one of the early ones, UFC, MMA, is with us here on Tiki and Tierney, CBS Sports Radio. Now, we got a statement from McGregor. We'll read it in a minute. We'll ask you about Hawaii 5-0. But I wanted to get this from you here because Tiki and I are relatively new to the fight game. Last couple of, really, outside the last 2 years or so, I didn't understand it, didn't watch it, but we've had so many of the guests. We have a great relationship with UFC. So we're kind of into it now. But I didn't watch you fight, man, to be honest with you. I know you're a 3-time UFC champ. I know you have a record of 15 title fights. But when you first entered the business and now you look at it to what it's grown to, I mean, did you ever envision that on your wildest, most creative day in your mind, did you ever think that it could get to this point, this mainstream?
No, I mean, I think we were all worried that the sport was going to die. We were largely misunderstood. My first UFC was UFC 13, and they held the weigh-ins in the lobby at the Holiday Inn in Augusta, Georgia. I had never seen the guys I was going to fight that night until we stepped on the scale in the lobby. Now, obviously, they're cordoning off half of the arena, 8,000 people showing up just for the weigh-ins. The rules and everything and how it's evolved is remarkable. It's gone way farther than I'd ever imagined. And I think, UFC UFC 13, there were more fights in the stands back then than there were in the cage. It was a whole different show.
Yeah, right. Yeah, you could just pay attention to what's going on behind you instead of what was going on in the octagon. Now we have this statement here from Conor McGregor, and it's really right up the alley of what you were talking about. And I'll just read the first couple of lines. Quote, "I am trying to do my job and fight here. I am paid to fight. I am not yet paid to promote." And then at the end, it says, "For USADA and for the UFC and my contract stipulations, I am not retired." So he's not retired. It's all about the promotion game and the fact that he doesn't feel compensated for that side of it. I mean that's really what drives the sport, though, isn't it? It's kind of, remember boxing back in the day? It was, the pose, the fight, the
Press
drama,
conference.
exactly,
Sure.
the drama that went on before the fight. With some of these names that aren't as mainstream, you kind of need the promotion side of it, don't you?
Well, I think at the end of the day, what you're really trying to do is build your own brand, and this is where you come into conflict with the contract and the promoter. Is that the promoter has his brand and those three letters UFC that they want to put out there, and they're using you as a tool to do that. But at the same time, myself and Conor McGregor, us as fighters, we're trying to promote our own brand as well. We have to do enough in the short window we have, not only making money, but to build a brand that's going to carry us down the road when we can't fight anymore.
Yeah.
And I think that's the conflict. That's what's going on.
Now, how old are you? You're like